Welcome to another episode of Tigers Talking on the Prairie. This is brought to you by Lahana High School's Senior Honors English class. So we are going to be exploring our writing. Today's episode is bringing you some more narrative and descriptive essays. We're going to talk to two students about the process that they went through in writing their essay, and then they're going to share their writing with us. So stick around for Tigers Talking on the Prairie. Today's writers are Tonya Lopez and Braxton Oquist. So Tonya, we are here and we are exploring narrative writing. Could you tell me how you came up with the topic?
One of my summer, something that happened over the summer. It was kind of like a summer romance thing, and I thought it would last forever, but it ended up being a lot shorter than what I thought it'd be.
What was the most difficult part of writing?
Actually telling about the whole, probably the difficult, because I had to go back and find those feelings again and write them down on paper and try and find words that would help the reader feel what I was feeling.
Do you think that because this is narrative and yours is dealing with a particular, very personal subject, does that make this type of writing more difficult to do than, say, just a research persuasive essay?
Yeah, because you're actually letting readers into your life and letting them know what happened to you, and kind of like the child called It, how he went back into his feelings and told his story of his life and how it was really personal, and it just caught people's attention and it made it more interesting.
Do you think that your writing is better when you draw upon something personal?
I do think it's better personally because it's more interesting and everybody has their own different stories, and that it's just not on one topic. Like, everybody has their own story, and some want to tell it in a certain way, and then there's others who want to tell it a completely different way, and it's just more interesting.
Braxton, to start us off, can you tell us how you began this process? What did we do as a class to begin this process?
Well, first, the hardest part for me was figuring out which story or which memory that I was going to use.
How did you know that you were going to use a memory?
I figured I was going to use a memory to kind of give a personal feel to it so that the reader could really connect with me.
Did you find that part of having to write about a personal memory difficult or easy to do?
I thought it was a lot easier than a normal writing because you knew exactly what was going to happen while you wrote it.
Did you find that allowed you as a writer to really use your writer's voice? And what does that mean?
That's a tricky question for me to answer.
Why?
Because I really don't know what kind of voice I was using. I don't know if it was really mine. I was just kind of reclaiming events as it went on, or re-saying.
So when you were going through the process and you knew this was a narrative descriptive essay, what distinguished that type of writing?
What distinguished it was just being in it, personally telling it from that first person point of view, because usually I'll write from a third person, but as it being one of my memories, I wrote it from the first person.
Tonya Lopez, narrative descriptive essay, The Fairy Tale. I thought you were different, but in the end, you're just like all of them. Click. Every girl dreams of her knight in shining armor, Prince Charming to save her from her tower. And I thought he was my prince, but guess what? I'm still locked in my tower. His name is the poison in the apple. I shall not call him Eric, but instead the Dark Knight. He was my Prince Charming at first, opened doors for me, always respected me, buy me dinner. He was everything, then more. It was a fairy tale till his family reunion. At first, I was excited, but nervous as well. His family already liked me, now there was more to meet. I went ahead and introduced myself to everyone there. Everything was good, and the future of my story looked bright. But events changed once his cousin Cody came. He drank the poison, and that changed him. Everything he did, he didn't do. Never talked to me, not one word at that. Never hugged me, nothing. His attitude towards me was, I don't care. Wow, who would have thought? The only thing he would say to me was bye when I had to leave. Never kissed me either. On the last day of his reunion, he came to my house. Around 8:00 p.m. was when he called me. Hey, can you go outside really fast? Sure, I answered. Excited that he finally said something to me, I quickly ran down the stairs and out the door. There was a blue truck that was parked in front of the car, and Eric walked out. His face pale, not a smile on his face. Slowly walking up to me, his head slightly down, looks up. I'm leaving back to Grand Junction tonight with my cousin, and I'll be gone for 2 weeks. Shocked, I really didn't know what to say. Tears started falling. Being with him every day was so amazing. Now he's leaving. What was I going to do? I'll be back, babe, I promise. Okay. Wiping the tears off my chin, he kisses me so gently, on the lips, then forehead. I love you, he says to me with a smile. I love you too. I couldn't help but smile back. When he left, I was a lost puppy. I didn't know what to do. A few times I went to his mom's house. I was still crying. We just sat and talked and talked. She missed him, and so did I. Then one of the visits, she told me that no girlfriend ever wanted to hear. I asked her if she talked to him because he hasn't called or texted me since he's been gone. She told me, he said, what lasts? Nothing ever lasts. I couldn't believe it. Everything he told me was a lie. I was crushed, like a person in a car wreck. She didn't know what to do. All she did was gave me a pat on the back and told me, this is how he really is. My heart got ripped out of my chest and been stomped on till it was into ashes, then flew away in the night sky. The past couple of days after was hell. I was in denial. I thought she was lying to me because I knew my dark night acted, and she told me was nothing like him. So when he came home, I was happier than a kid on Christmas. When I saw him, I ran up as fast as the wind, jumped on him with the biggest smile on my face. Yes, my baby's finally home. But something wasn't right. He gave me a hug back, didn't say hi, nothing. Who was this person, and where did he take my love? This was his mom. This is what his mom was telling me. He put me down gently. I have bad news. In my head, a red flag went up. This is not good. I'm moving back to Grand Junction, and I'm not coming back. Now, I know you're thinking this is such a sad story, which it is, but just imagine a little kid waking up on Christmas morning with no presents. It's just like a normal day, nothing new. I was hurt. I wanted to smack the crap out of him. What happened to the promise? What happened to us? What happened to Eric? I pushed him away and ran to my house crying. I didn't want to come down from my room. I was dying inside. How could he do this to me? The phone rang. Caller ID, Eric Brown. I'm sorry, was all he could tell me. To this day, I wonder if his cousin never showed up, would we still be together? I wonder if he's doing okay in Junction. I'm not for sure. I haven't talked to him since the call. I figured out myself after that relationship. Life isn't a fairy tale. Don't count on some guy to save you from your tower. The only way you can get out is getting out yourself.
Hello, my name is Braxton, and this is my narrative descriptive essay called Twitching. It was a perfect spring afternoon after church. My family and I were going to go have lunch with my grandma at Village Inn. We all were waiting for her to pull up in her shiny Lexus at the entrance so that we could help her into the restaurant. We were seated at a round booth by the entrance. It was a miracle that the table held all of us. The meal was like any other one we had. Well, Tykes, how have you been doing? My grandma asks, behind thick spectacles. Then we all take our turn telling her about what happened since we last saw her, and then go on to explain what we are going to be doing. During this, she listens intently to what we say and adds her snippets whenever she feels necessary. There is hardly ever silence because when this is done, she immediately starts talking about something else. Grandma always has drama to talk about. It seems like she knows everything about everyone in town. She is a radio talk show. She never runs out of things to say. But that was about to change. My parents went into a discussion on business. They were a little stressed out because a part broke on the car wash and the part was late getting to them. Grandma was apparently getting worked up about it too and was worried for my parents' business. At that time, Grandma and I were talking about school and how baseball was going. Then all of a sudden she clenched up and went blank. "Grandma!" I shouted in fear. Everyone looked up from what they were doing and immediately freaked out. She started to fidget and move uncontrollably. Blood started running down her chin from her biting her tongue. I had never seen my dad get as scared as he was right then. He told us to get out of the booth and move, so we did. Mom then escorted us somewhere else to sit. By that point, my sister and 2 younger brothers were crying. Me and my other brother Dallas did our best to calm them down. Mom then said to call the uncles, so I did, and they both sounded frantic and came to Village Inn as soon as possible. When all of that was over, I looked back over at the spot we were sitting in. I saw my grandma laying on the floor, and my dad on his knees by her side with a frantic look on his face. My dad was a ghost. I felt really bad for him. I couldn't imagine what he was feeling. He thought that she was dead. Then someone came over and said that she was still alive. That made us and everyone in the place feel better, I think. When the ambulance arrived, they said that she had a major seizure, but she was going to be okay. We were relieved when we heard that. When they were loading her, she was aboard. Her body hardly moved. My uncles arrived shortly after, and we told them what all had happened. My dad and uncles went with them to the hospital, and we went home. The experience made me think about how it would actually feel to lose someone close to me. It's a heart-wrenching feeling that hopefully I won't have to feel for a long time.
Tigers Talking on the Prairie is done in conjunction with Lahana High School's English Department and Technology Department. It's produced by Lahana High School, located at 1817 Smithland in La Junta, Colorado. This podcast was recorded in October 2010. Join us again for our next podcast of Tigers Talking on the Prairie.